Hello there everyone, welcome back to 14 Bricks. In this video I'm going to do a short, quick stop motion tutorial on basically what stop motion is, what the best app is for it, and a few little tips and stuff and techniques that you can do. So yeah, let's get right into it. So I'm sure all of you know what stop motion is, and if for whatever reason you don't, it's just a bunch of pictures put together to make basically a film. That's basically what all animated films are. Any kind of Disney animation you see is just a different form of stop motion. It's just on a computer, it's not physical. So the app I use, and by far the best app for stop motion, is Stop Motion Studio. If you don't have a camera that's made for stop motion and you're doing it on some sort of mobile device, definitely do Stop Motion Studio. There's lots of other apps out there. I've tried other ones. This one is by far the best. You can also pay $5 to get the pro version. This is a free app, but if you want to, you can pay $5 to get the pro version and get extra features added into it. But anyways, first thing I'm going to show you guys how to do is a good walking sequence. So I'm going to show you guys how to do a good walk sequence. So first what you're going to want to do is place your figure wherever. I'm just going to place my guy here, and you're going to take your first picture. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to lift up this first leg like this, just right above that stud there. Make sure he's not turning or anything. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to have the leg go up like that or anything. That's going to look really bad. So you're going to want to have it as far down as you can, but still above that first stud. And you take another picture. Now you're going to want to move him just up like that a little bit. Now sometimes you may need to use sticky tack, because sometimes they don't want to stand up. Now another thing I forgot is on the far left, there's this thing here, which you can do ghost images, and you can see where your figure was before and where it is currently. So that kind of helps to show you how big and small movements you are getting. Now the next picture we're going to do is just kind of get him forward a little bit and get him to lean in there just a tiny bit. Don't quite have him get onto that next stud. Now the next picture, his first foot is going to hit that next stud all the way down. So you take that one, and then this leg here hits the other stud, and there you have a complete, perfect walk sequence. Now we go back here, adjust our FPS. I usually animate at around 12 to 15 FPS. It all depends on what I'm doing. It all depends on if it's minifigures, moving vehicles. I'd say don't go any lower than 10. Any lower than 10, it'll get pretty choppy. For this one, I'm probably just going to use 12 so it's not too fast. Yeah, you can see a perfect walk sequence. I'll bring it way down so you can see it a little better. So there are two ways to make minifigures and just any object in stop motions fly and float and jump, etc. A lot of people are really confused on how do you do that, and I used to be confused. And once you learn how to do it, it's pretty easy, and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So the first way that you can do it is masking, which is probably the most common way. I'd say it's a little bit more difficult and it's more annoying, but it's definitely the preferred way in most situations. So what we're going to do is we've got our figure here. So I'm just going to kind of get a little bit of momentum going. Okay, so now I am just about to put a thing under him to help him to get into the air. So what you're actually going to do is so what you want to do is pay attention to the two studs that the minifigure or whatever you're using is on, and stare at those studs while you take a picture. So take a picture without him there, and then place him right back in the same place where he was. Now for this picture, you're going to want to put him on top of whatever thing you're using. I like to use studs to do it. Some people like to put bricks under things. I think that's a little too choppy. I like smaller movements, so I do 2 studs at a time, I think is a good way to do it. Of course, you do it your own way. Maybe for a beginner, it might be better to do bricks. And you're gonna take this picture, and then I'm just gonna continue to just add 2 studs every time. I think I'm gonna do this 3 times. Okay, so now that he is at the very kind of almost the very top of his jump, I'm only gonna put 1 stud under him. Just kind of get that little floating kind of feeling right at the very top there. Take 1 picture, 2. All right, so he's now at the very bottom of his jump. He just landed. So I'm just gonna kind of get him to stand back up straight, kind of get that little realistic feeling of him, you know, absorbing the jump or whatever. So there is that. Now you are probably wondering, all right, how are we gonna get that to look like he just jumped? Well, you're about to find out. So I'm gonna click the top right arrow, and we've got all the pictures we just took here. Now you might remember the picture we took without the figure here. What we're going to do is I'm going to click on that, and you can only do this if you have the Pro version. If you don't have the Pro version, you cannot do masking, so I would recommend you get that if you can. Click the small square in the top right corner. Make sure that you have this picture selected, and you can click these 2 little eraser icons at the top. Make sure you're taking, you have the, make sure the one with the minus sign is blue. Now you're going to go to the next picture, and you're going to zoom up pretty close to where the studs are, and you're just going to drag your finger over the area that you want to get erased. Now usually it's good to just kind of go around the area a little bit to blend it in with the surroundings. That way it doesn't look too interesting. So I'll go ahead and speed this up to the end. Okay, so we're now here at the end, so we just got all those frames done. Now we're gonna choose the FPS. I'm gonna go with 12 for now and see how that looks. Play it through. Oh, I totally forgot. After you finish the masking, delete the picture without the thing in there. So there you go. And he just jumped, did kind of a sloppy job on the masking, and I should have kind of rubbed it around a little bit further into the picture. But yeah, that's how you do the masking. So yeah, for all of you that were wondering how that works, that's how you do it. All right, now I'm gonna show you the other technique. So I'm gonna start a new film, and I'm gonna show you the other way. Now, I'm just gonna kind of get a very quick setup here. So let's say this is a wall. All right, so we have a wall there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a thin stick. So grab a thin stick of some sort. Now you don't have to use a Lego piece. I've seen people even use wire for this technique. So we're gonna say that the minifigure, now most of the time you're gonna use this technique for when something is being thrown across the frame, and it's usually gonna be something small. So I'm gonna grab an accessory to throw. So we're gonna say this piece of dynamite. Now you're gonna need your stick, your accessory. You're also gonna need a very small piece of sticky tack, super tiny. You want that thing to be really, really tiny. Stick it on the end of the stick. Stick it on the end of the dynamite, or whatever accessory you're using, and then stick the rest of that sticky tack on there. And then what you're gonna do is do this, and you're gonna position it to where the camera cannot see the stick. Just like that. So take a picture, and then move it down a little bit. This is a very sloppy job. I'm just trying to get through it. There we go. That's the other technique that you can use. And again, you usually are only gonna want to use that when, yeah, that doesn't look very good, but you get what the point is. So those are the 2 techniques for flying objects. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna talk about is not necessarily a technique or kind of animation related thing. I want to talk about having a good set, which is basically the background, but the more, I guess you could say, professional term would be the set. So this area, you don't want to animate in an area like this. You don't want a plain base plate with nothing. Now, I do that for my shorts. My shorts are just meant to be short and entertaining. But when I do like ding dong things or other, Marvel stuff, just regular videos, I do try to get a good set, and you can tell, such as I don't know why I always like to go to the Thor versus King Larry set, but that was a really good set. And if I would have just animated that on a plain base plate, that would have been so much less of a good stop motion. So always make sure that you get a good set going, and just plain minifigure on a base plate usually isn't the way to go unless you're doing a little, a short or something like that, just something very short and entertaining. So I have one last thing to talk about, and this is a subject that lots of beginner animators get really, really, really wrong, and I got it wrong myself, is having to have people have it in their heads that you have to have really tiny movements. So we're going to turn on Ghost Pictures. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So people have it in their head that they need really tiny movements. So let's say, some people might say that's not enough. That's about my average for what I do. Now I maybe go a little bit less than that, but this right here, what I'm doing is a really good movement space right here. Some people, a lot of beginners, there's kind of two beginner ways to do it, and it's two extremes. Beginners are either going to do really massive movements that are going to look really choppy, or they're going to do super tiny ones like here. Not this, but like something like, this, and they're just going to do that. Here's the thing. There's two things for either one, so I'm going to use some examples. So when I have in my Iron Family stop motion, okay, there was Pepper Potts who flew out of the ceiling. When she flew out of the ceiling, that was her flying in the air was only like 2 or 3 pictures. It was really, really large movements. The larger the movements, the faster it's going to be. So if I want a minifigure to look like they're moving really fast, you got to do really big movements. But if you want them to be moving very slow, small movements. And of course it also depends on the FPS you're doing. Don't have it in your head that you have to get really tiny movements. You only want tiny movements if you're wanting the minifigure to be moving really slow. Like in the 14 Bricks versus Larry weightlifting stop motion I did, I was having the 14 Bricks arm was moving super, super tiny movements because I wanted him to be struggling to lift the weight. Now, Larry's movements were, I believe 2 pictures per lift. So, yeah, do not get that mixed up, please. So I believe that is all I had to say for this video. I hope you guys learned a little something. Eventually, I'm thinking I'll probably do an advanced video where I show some more advanced techniques. These were very basic ones that are very easy and more beginner stuff to know. So maybe I'll make a more advanced one in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one.